Sourpuss. How are you doing?
What are we doing? You're not a sourpuss? What are we doing?
That's a Sourpuss face right there.
Do you see Deb and them yet? Are you looking?
Good day for being out on the water. Heading to Brady Island. We decided to go ahead and anchor out at Brady Island this weekend. We joined our friends David and Lee on their boat, and Keith and Deb came along on theirs as well. Brady Island is a small little island just off the Tchefuncte River. It's somewhat protected by the island from boats going by, but as you can see, we're actually parked right in the river itself, right kind of dead behind the boats. At this point is the southbound side of the river, and then is a curve in it right here. So if you look toward the left-hand side of the screen, right about now, that's sort of where the river goes upriver, if you will, and that's ultimately where the river bends. The island is just to the left of this particular scene, so we anchored right here. Not very protected. As a matter of fact, water skiers were coming by, and we were certainly getting the waves from it. If we got in a little further, we probably would have been a bit more protected. But we had a great time. We cooked out, we swam. You can actually see Dave over there scrubbing the water line right where his air conditioner discharges are. But we just had a very relaxing time. It was a wonderful afternoon. And you can start to see a bit of the island there forming right in front of the boats. Not sure if there was any boats out at this point. Yeah, there's a few other boats anchored in there kind of behind the island, a little more protected in there. So, again, we had a great time. You can see Lee is actually sound asleep in a raft. She was relaxing in a raft just kind of behind the boat. So this was a wonderful time, and we certainly enjoyed ourselves. I'm thankful David and Lee asked us to come on out. We had a great time until we got ready to leave and our starter wouldn't work. So a little more on that next week, or in one of the upcoming episodes. I videoed the removal of the starter, the troubleshooting, diagnostics, and how they work, and then I'll get a little bit more detail of what the repair looks like. There's Last Affair. So we actually took Last Affair, our Gulf Star, out, not Dream Chase or the Formosa. Off we go. We had a great time swimming. I went ahead and muted the sound just because we had some music on the radio and don't want any copyright issues with YouTube. But I was asking McKinley if she wanted to take a nap, and she said she did. I asked her if she wanted me to hold her cup while she climbed up there, and she's like, no, I'm going to lay right here. And she kind of aimed the pillow and climbed on up and took a little nap. Alright, I just had to show this. So we actually forgot to put a swimmer diaper on McKinley, and we were all swimming and kind of hanging out behind Dave's boat off the swim platform, and we had a diaper explosion. When those things get really wet, look at how big that diaper got. And she kept apologizing like she did something wrong. There was nothing she did wrong, but anyway, obviously I'm going to cut the film here, but it was the funniest thing. This thing got about 6 or 8 inches thick. It was crazy. So we swam for a while, and I just kind of left the camera on for a bit. You can see it was a pretty good wind. We were swinging around quite a bit, and you'll see us rocking a little bit from the waves of the boats coming by, but it was great. We had some food out on the grill, and I just fired up our grill. I'm going to do some fresh green beans to go along with the burgers and chicken that Dave was cooking up on his grill. So we had a great time. It was really, really a relaxing weekend. It was a little easier to walk around the front of the boat than the back because I had a bunch of stuff sitting on the back deck. Figured it was worth showing you this. Yeah. There's a gator just swimming around by our boat. Dang it. We enjoy taking little outings in the dinghy, so in this case we went up the Tchefuncte River, and there's this little bayou that cuts off and kind of goes in toward a housing development. So we're turning off the Tchefuncte into this bayou, and I honestly don't even know the name of it. What's amazing to me is just how far in this bayou goes, and more surprisingly, how deep it is. So we'll go in here 6 or 7 miles probably, and all of a sudden you go around a corner and there'll be a 50-foot or 40-foot, I guess 40-foot boat in there. So it's just amazingly deep and really narrow in a lot of places though. Here's a perfect example of what I was referring to. So a little further in on the bayou, you can barely see the house. It's way up into the woods there, but you see this boathouse with, this is probably about a 32-foot, maybe it's 24-foot, 25-foot boat right there on the boathouse in this particular one. And this is quite narrow. I mean, it's not uncommon that you're dodging down trees or you'll see stumps sticking up. I wanted to show this just because you can kind of get a sense for just how windy this is. So we see a little dock on the left-hand side, and we kind of make our right-hand turn here. You can kind of see it's starting to get pretty narrow. The water is definitely up, the trees are down in the water, all these cypress trees. And you can see the wake on our right-hand side. That's from us. So it just curved. We basically just made a complete curve around. And the water goes all the way through. You just can't quite get through that way. It's just amazing. So I'm jumping around a little bit on the footage, but you can see we're several miles in here, and there's a fork in the river, in the bayou here. We've not gone to the left, so we'll probably turn around and do that here in a minute. But these houses are really nice right along the bayou, and it's not Cajun swamp people sort of style. This is really nice stuff. A lot of these sort of shallow draft boats in this particular area. But what made Deb and I come down this particular part of the bayou is we've seen this house once before. We actually came exploring down this same spot one time with Keith and Deb. They were in their dinghy and we were in ours. We brought some lunch and stopped and had sandwiches. It was really cool. But this house on the left right here, I thought it was abandoned because the dock is in really rough shape. We were just kind of curious what it looked like. We marked the spot on our GPS on the phone so we could go find it via streets. I'm really kind of curious where it is. But it was starting to get a little shallower in here. We were at about 5.5 feet deep and definitely getting narrow. So I wasn't sure how much further up this was going to go, and we will see here in just a moment because it looks like it turns pretty much into a creek right after this last house here. And this guy didn't even have a boat tied up. It certainly looks like he could. He's got a place for it right there on the back of his dock. I'm not sure if they fish there more often or what, but I'm kind of contemplating that. I can see where it goes forward, but I'm also now getting down to about 2 feet deep. So I decided to go ahead and make this our stopping point. So just went ahead and swung our little U-turn here nice and slow, but you can see just how gorgeous it is out here. Really been impressed with this whole area. It's very pretty, very pretty. You can see all the bubbles as I was turning up mud and that trail coming down. So as we were cruising back up the river, I saw this fender there and thought, all right, if it's in decent shape, I may just stop and pick it up. It was certainly not near anyone's house and was actually a nice $75 or $80 fender. So we have an extra one on the boat now. So I cut ahead by quite a bit. We were actually, the spot where I showed that fork in the river, we turned and went up that particular fork in the river, got kind of all the way toward the end of that as well, and now we have turned around and we're starting to head back. You'll see the sun starting to come down a little bit. We know we have a ways to go. Waving to some of the folks. They're just sitting out in a backyard or at the pool, whatever it happens to be. But again, it's definitely a different look. I grew up as a kid going on vacation to my grandparents' house in Fox River Grove, Illinois. So up on the Fox River, and just a very different river look. Like that sort of shorelines and sand on the sides in places or mud. But here it's bayou, and you don't always see the actual edge of the waterway. You actually see trees, cypress trees and cypress knees sticking up. So it's just a very different look, but pretty as can be. I'm sure there's amazing fishing in here. Again, you saw the size of that boat that we just passed right there. There was another fork in the river here, and we haven't even taken the time to go to that spot that's in the right in this particular view, but it goes off to the left as far as heading out the direction we were before. The other interesting thing is, and I'm not sure if you could see it in some of the footage here we had, but along the edge of the shore you will see what looks like kite string and like an orange sort of ribbon tied to the kite string, maybe a foot above the water line. I'm sure those are alligator traps or alligator hooks. Swab was getting antsy. She kept saying she wanted to go fast, so we were finally getting toward the edge of the river again. We went ahead and throttled up, and I probably did this just a little bit earlier than the no wake zone sign, but we were buzzing on out of the bayou, and you can see the actual Chafuncta River up ahead of us. So we will make our sweeping turn to the left here and start heading downriver. I'm going to let this play out for a second, because I've said a couple of times that the homes here are just amazing. You will see a fish camp, the equivalent of a mobile home on stilts that somebody has for fishing, and then you'll see homes like this one dead in front of us. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it here in this footage, but it is humongous, just gorgeous. There's another one downriver with big marble columns around the pool. So as we were buzzing along home, all of a sudden I felt I must hit something. Slowed down real quick. Knew that wasn't good. I didn't see anything in front of us. Of course, the sun was there, so it was a little hard to see if something might have been floating in the water. Because we're in a river right here, every once in a while you will see chunks of logs or whatever, and I just wasn't necessarily sure what was going on, but decided to go ahead and turn around and see if I could figure out what it was we ended up hitting. And then we saw this chunk of cedar log or something like that. We went ahead and pulled it out of the water. It was actually a pretty piece of wood. I would have rather have found it just floating around than already something we whacked into pretty good with the prop. There was a little bit of vibration on it, so I do need to check it. It seems to still be okay, but I need to just verify the prop's still good. So we always enjoy taking these little rides. We figured we'd give you an opportunity to take the entire ride with us at 20 times the speed we took it. It'll be a little interesting. I'm debating whether I post the whole video up there as a different link in case somebody really does want to kind of ride along at a slower speed and see it. Because there are some interesting areas as we go through here. You know, one spot we had to sort of zigzag around a downed log. I'm sure there's a way that all the people that live in here know exactly how to get around it, but we weren't sure, and just kind of put it in neutral and let ourselves coast slowly over it. But hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for weekly updates and like this video.